through to you.
Okay.
Good evening, legends, and welcome to a late night edition of Chat with Matt, where I'm very pumped to be chatting with obstacle racing media founder Matt B. Davis. And Matt started ORM with fellow OCR junkie Christian Griffith back in 2012 to create an unbiased place for info on all things obstacle racing. From on-location race reports, product reviews, and athlete interviews, ORM does it all. So if you're interested in OCR and you somehow don't already follow them, look them up. In 2020, Obstacle Racing Media have been running the Ultra Virus virtual race series, which you might have seen me compete in a few times earlier in the year, and I know I dragged a couple of clients in and a couple of fellow lunatic Australians, and they're about to run the fourth of the event, the fourth event of the series on October 24th. It's called Ultra Virus: The Progression, and we will get into that soon. But first things first, let's bring Matt on screen. Matt B. Davis, how are you, man?
Good morning, my friend. I'm happy to talk to someone this morning. I'm sorry, I'm slightly distracted. Hey, Rav, you got to bring my phone back, buddy.
That's okay. While we So I've had a few tech difficulties going into this one. We were actually supposed to chat last week, and apparently after all this time doing these podcasts with people overseas, I still can't work out how to use a world clock. So
It's
we had
really
to
hard, man.
reschedule.
I was talking to Nathan from the Eco.
Yeah,
What,
yeah.
buddy?
The
Okay, you want to fix it later? Okay. Um, yeah, so I interviewed Nathan in New Zealand, and I thought I had it nailed, but apparently I didn't. So that took us an extra time. It's just hard.
Yeah, it's easy to do though.
14.
I was chatting to a guy the same day in the UK, and it was like his night was my morning, and then I was chatting to you in my night, and it was your morning. And I somehow realized that I'd scheduled your chat for 36 hours behind me, and I'm like, hang on, that doesn't sound right. But anyway,
Right.
got a hold of you now.
It should
But
be. So you're at 8 p.m. right now or 9 p.m.?
9 p.m. But I'm the
Okay.
only state in Australia that is at 8 p.m. We've got daylight savings, but only in like Victoria and New South Wales. So even though we're
Thank
like on the
God.
same meridian, they're an hour ahead of us. But they don't like it up in Queensland because it makes the curtains fade apparently.
It makes the curtains what?
The daylight savings makes the farmers' curtains fade, so they don't like it.
That's a
Which I
that's a
don't.
real thing.
It's apparently it's a real thing. It's sort of like a running joke, but it's a real thing.
Well, I think that there was a reason they created daylight savings time, and I think that reason we've outgrown. We've
Yeah,
we've figured it out.
yeah,
We just learn at this time of year it gets darker earlier because
hmm
the sun is in a different place, or the earth is in a different place in relation to the sun. So why not just, like we don't need it is the point.
yeah.
Is this, wait a minute, do we decide if this link is working so I can get my American audience to be enjoying this?
I'm getting on it as we speak, my friend.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were trying to go live, and then I'm having all sorts of tech difficulties. So we've had to swap software last minute, and then because I went to start the live 2 minutes late, the scheduled live disappeared. So we're having a good day.
Bastard. All right, well, listen, I'm not in any hurry. This is the start of my day. I'm in no hurry. I got no other call scheduled for, you know, a while. So,
I'll tell you what, the link I just sent you is the link that we're on in your messenger. So if you have to just quickly reshare that.
okay, hold please. Hold one.
While you're doing that, man, I'm going to jump in and bring some of these comments on screen because this is a live chat. We do have people from my Onemoorerep page who are tuning in, and I can bring these comments on screen. So as I said before, mate, you won't be able to see these, but Chrissy
It's
Tobin's
okay.
here saying I woke up
Oh
early
my
just for
God,
this.
Chrissy.
Chrissy
Chrissy!
Tobin,
How was Chrissy Tobin there when I posted the wrong link before?
I have no idea. Maybe she just tuned over to my Facebook page and somehow saw it. Maddie Probes is here. Dominica, my partner, is watching from the lounge room. Funda's here. Kerry Lashcombe's here. Got dragged into UV Ultravirus. I dragged her in. She said it was so great.
Good job. Good job. Good job.
Donna's here. Cam,
Hey, can you
Mikey
hang on to?
Groom's here. Yeah, you're right. So we're off to a roaring start with our chat today. A little bit unorthodox, but it's definitely going to be a good one chatting to Maddie today. So stick around, guys. Plenty of you guys here. So maybe this late night time slot's a good time to be jumping on chats. Maybe. So Donna's here as well. Cam's here. Kerry says the dairy cow's
My
getting
son
mixed
has
up.
now asked. My son has now asked me to find tape on this thing, which is almost impossible.
Cool. We've still got a few people coming in. So
I got it.
I can roll down through these.
Yeah, it's not impossible.
Okay, it's not impossible, Fizz River.
Mom did, 'cause she's an expert at taping stuff, and Emma is an expert because one of.
Can I have my call? Can we talk later, buddy? Thanks, dude. He's just all about it, man.
All about it.
He's
Seven's
all
a good
about
age,
it.
man. It's a cute age.
It's a horrible
Mikey
age.
Groom.
He's a horrible person.
Mikey Groom's here. He says, daylight savings is the greatest, even the good old US of A. Do you know Mikey? Have you met Mikey? Mikey Groom? He's an Aussie guy. I know he was
That
racing
name
over
sounds
there for a
very
while.
big.
He was very excited when I told him I was chatting to you. He's just moved back to the US.
Where does he live now?
I'm not sure, but I'm sure he'll tell us very shortly.
Okay, I'm good to go,
Mikey,
man. I shared the link.
all good. Mikey said it wouldn't be a Matt B. Davis episode without a river interruption.
There you go. See, there you go.
He knows. Yeah, a couple of guys. Luke's here, 10 p.m. in New South Wales. Good work, man. All right, plenty of comments coming in. So how are you, man? How's 2020 treating you? It's an interesting time to be in the sport of obstacle racing, right?
How's 2020 treating me? Well, I talked to a friend yesterday I hadn't talked to in years, and I said, all things considered, it's been okay in that I somehow still get to do what my job is, right? So, yesterday I recorded 2 podcasts. I did one with Josh. I put up a video, and I know that's a lot of people don't have a job they like, and I've been able to do that and somehow survive through COVID, financially. Um, I complain a lot about my kids, and some of it's kidding, some of it's not. I can tell you that um, my kids do not do well with homeschooling. They've got they've got uh, you know mental health issues, which I also do. So that part has not been easy. But all things considered, I'm okay.
It's good to hear. It's good to hear. And I think I think everyone's been hit. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, you've been affected by this in some way. But I see it especially hitting. There's sort of two sides to the coin. Like I see obstacle races have been hit with it heavy because we don't have our events, and that's where a lot of us get our release. And I imagine you're quite similar. Um, for me, it's sort of I'm in the same boat in that I do what I love, and I'm lucky to wake up and do it every day. But this year, it sort of seems like it's all work and no play. You know what I mean? It seems like it's a little bit harder. But I've seen a lot of OCR racers who are weathering the storm quite well because of, I think, the resilience that's created with the sport. But also, it's like their toys have all been taken away. So, you know,
Right, right.
nobody's in a very good spot. But, mate, it's awesome to see you keeping the ball rolling over there. And it seems like you're pumping out more content at the moment. Have you accelerated?
Well, at one point, right at the beginning, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put something out every day. And numbers were actually down overall, but I just kind of like got on fire about it. And I was actually able to interview more people because more people were available. Like I was basically, I'd record one or two a day and put up one a day. So if you go to March and you look, there was one almost every day of the month. And I can look back at something that I'm really proud on. It was like 3 weeks straight where we did an episode every day, Monday through Friday, and I missed like one day in there. Um,
Yeah, wow.
so if you look at March and April, I put out a lot, which again is weird considering there's no events, but I don't know. I like to talk, so it's not hard to um for me to just right. That's why we like each
Yeah,
other.
yeah, yeah. Um, Mate, what drives you to do this? Why are you so passionate about this? I'm somebody who's building something from the ground up as well, and a lot of that it's an uphill battle. What makes you so passionate about this sport?
I think one thing I think it can happen that it's easy to forget. We get into this mode of things, at least personally, I can just speak personally that it's easy to forget, right? And a lot of times we talk about obstacle racing, it just becomes these words because we're so used to explaining it to people, or like when people ask me, so what do you do for a living? And I have to start with, do you know what obstacle racing is? No. Do you know what a Spartan race is? Right? Like, oh, you go through the mud and this and there's walls and blah, blah, blah. But if you heard my recent podcast where we had a savage race, man, did I
Mm,
get really in touch with what I love about this stuff.
yeah,
So, number one is the event itself, right? Like getting there, race morning, you know, the excitement, the nervousness, you get out on the course and there's like nothing like that sort of like the smell of the mud, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like
yeah,
feet on, sort of wet, slippery mud. And it's just this thing. And we forget again, like for people that have done nothing but a 10K their whole life, this is an adventure. The first mile is like your feet aren't even and you might fall. And we just forget you get to go through a creek, like all that stuff. And then, I've said from the beginning, we love the races. We wouldn't come back if it wasn't for the people. So, seeing everybody again was amazing. I mean, like when I saw my friend Brad at this finish line, I like yell at this big yelp. I was so excited, because it's like, it's been so bloody long since we've seen of these people. So at this part of my life, it's just become a part of me, And I think for those of us that are really into it, it kind of chose us, right? Like the sport didn't exist when we were growing up. It's this weird thing that was born from a few crazy people's ideas, and it just sort of chose some of us to be like you couldn't have said to me when I was 18 or 20 or 30, um, Matt, what you're going to do to pay the bills is you're going to write about this thing called running in the mud. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense.
yeah,
So at this
yeah,
part, it's just a part of me. And uh, it's actually good to have this conversation to remember that it's not just like, right, what I do.
yeah, yeah. And mate, I was watching your story from Savage Race. What was that last weekend? Or
Yeah, Saturday.
week and a
Yeah.
half ago? Um, and it's clear you have a lot of fun doing what you do, man. You can tell you love it. Your stories are always very entertaining, and I'm always watching your content going, fuck, I got to remember to do that. I got to remember to spin the content the way he does it, or do the little polls. Are people going to fall off the obstacles and stuff like that? But you have a lot
Right.
of fun. You bring people a lot of info at the same time. So it's rare to find people who are so passionate about what they do, and I think obstacle racing is a good thing to be passionate about. How
I mean, I
What
mean,
is
from
this guy's name?
this, his name is also Matt, and he has an
Hey
Australian
buddy,
accent.
Hi,
how are you? What's your name?
River.
River. Good to meet you, man. Are you
Does he have a
just
cool
waking
accent?
up?
Yeah.
Have
For a
have you
second, I
heard?
thought that it was Dario because he kind of looked like it for a second.
I don't think he's much more handsome than Dario.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Has River heard his dad's accent, his dad's Australian accent?
Well, we do quite a few of those in this house, and I gotta say that it's not always, what's the word, like appropriate. Like
That's fine.
you,
Have you seen
no,
anything
no,
that I
no,
do?
not for you in particular, but we live in sensitive times.
From like a
So
PC
like
standpoint.
like Jackson, there's an Indian woman at our Dunkin' Donuts, and Jackson like started kind of doing the accent, and I'm like, I don't think she's gonna go for that. Like it's pretty funny, but I don't think she can go for that.
Yeah, yeah, it's treacherous now. You got to be careful where you step. People are so easy to offend, right? I just watch I actually like just watching Instagram. So like I follow a couple of people, and Instagram's way bigger in America, but I follow a couple of people on Instagram just to see people teeing off under in the comments. Because people are just
Right.
crazy, especially like with the election stuff going on over there. Like it's mental, just watching people turn on each other. It's a
It's
crazy
it,
world.
it's sometimes I used to do that and can look at sport, and now it really makes me really sad. It makes me
Mm,
upset.
yeah,
I get on to my partner Josh all the time because Josh is like number one like person. Josh just like posts all the
Josh
time,
Chase.
like, oh, can you believe what he did today? I mean,
Yeah.
in 20, let's see, he got elected in 2016. Sometime in 2017, um, a friend of mine said, because back then we thought like, oh, well, he's going to do something so horrible that we push him out of office. And a friend of mine said, that's never going to happen.
Mm,
Don't like every day something's going to happen and nothing is going to change until there's a new election. And I remember thinking that wasn't right. And then about a week or two later, like 10 more crazy things happened. So anyway, um, yeah, I can't spend too much time on the craziness. Instagram used to be sort of a safe haven. Most of the
mm,
crap was on Facebook, but now it's slowly coming over.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, with stories, I mean, I think stories are like the greatest thing to happen because it's just fun. And most of the time, I don't think about it too much. I just kind of do like, let's do this. Let's do something like slightly different because um, like we all get sick of seeing like the same stuff that people show all the time.
Yep.
So I just enjoy doing it.
Yeah. Which is a good thing. Do you follow Gary Vee at all? Because you seem like you very much document, not create.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely used to worship at the shrine of Gary Vee. Now I take him in very small doses. Um, I don't know if you saw, I actually got to interview him at the Super
No.
Bowl 2 years ago. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I and
That's
then I
amazing.
got to do it again last year, but it was really short. Um, but no, yeah, I think he's got some very basic tenets that
Mm,
I try to stick with, right? Like the stuff
yeah.
that he talks about. Um, I think the biggest one is patience,
Yep.
right? Because he talks to these kids who like want to be famous tomorrow.
Mm,
And then I think about where I am, right? So I'm at this 8 years and I want certain things to be further along or I want to be making more money or whatever I think. And I just think like, just hang in there, man. Just like it's all patience because I'm certainly better than I was 2 years ago and I'm a lot better than I was 5 years ago, right?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I very much look where you are and think that's where I want to be. Like I looked up because I was, been following you for a while and see what you do. And a lot of what I obviously do the training. So we actually train athletes, but part of the brand is I go around to the races, I do the race reports, I interview the athletes and all that type of stuff, and a lot of that is just for the sport. Like I just want to grow it. I
Right.
love the sport, and one of the reasons I love the sport is for the reason that I was going to say when we were talking about Instagram is it doesn't seem to matter who you are or where you're from.
Right.
OCR, like once you're on the course, everyone's there. Everyone's good. But I see where you're at with it, and I went back onto your website and I'm like, when did this fucking guy start? Like, how's he gotten so far? And I'm like, oh, 8 years. I've got, if I'm where he's at in 8 years, I'm gonna be pretty happy.
Right.
Um,
But at year two and year three, I wanted to be, further along and
yeah,
I wanted to um like I used to really want to be um, like, oh, like if I do this really well, I'll get to write for these other sort of mainstream
Mm.
magazines. And it took a long time, but eventually um, I sort of like decided like that's okay if that happens, but I really like doing what I do, and I'm just going to keep plugging away at that. I'll tell you a very specific story.
Yeah.
So I got hired to write a story. I won't even go into the specific thing, but I was like, hey, I pitched this idea, and I was like, I'm going to write this thing, and uh, I'll just say it. It was for Runner's World, and it was like because I had written like reached out to me for one of these like real basic like 10 things to do for an obstacle race or what are the best 5 obstacle races or whatever, right? I gotten to write a couple of those. I was getting very excited, like, ooh, I get to put that next to my name, Runner's World, whatever. So I got hired to do this thing. And so I wrote it. Um, and like, no, we want it more to be this way. And so I completely changed it and wrote it this other way they wanted. And they still didn't want it. And I was like, and there's something called a kill fee where they pay you just like a third to like not do it. And that would have crushed me before. And I was just like, you know what, fuck it. And I'll just put it on my website and I'll write it how I want to write it. And that felt so much better and so much freer. And then the more I looked, the more I saw like all they post is clickbait crap, is, best dating tips for runners, best, it's just a lot of fucking garbage and fuck them. You know what I mean? I don't know if I can curse on here, but
Yeah. You
but
definitely
the
can.
media, the mainstream media, as you know, is clickbaity and lazy and doesn't even fact check. I've been reached out to so many times for a quote, and I've been like, hey man, just link my page. They don't even do that. I read it back after the story comes out. Hey, would you link my page? Oh man, that's the tech team. I don't know how to. And it's like, you know what? Like, go fuck yourself. Like, I'm just gonna keep
Yep.
doing my thing.
Yep.
And so yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah. That's good. Fitness is rife with that clickbaity
Right,
bullshit garbage. Um,
right,
and I tend to agree. Like on doing what I do and building, I've had companies that have said, "Let's work with you," and we can work together. And I'm like, "Fuck you! I'll build my own thing." Like if I build my own thing, I can swear, I can do whatever the fuck I want, I can wear whatever I
right,
want. You guys
right,
can't censor me. Like,
right.
I don't have to keep anyone
What
else
what
happy.
what what what'd you think about this recent Rogan news?
Oh, with Spotify?
Yeah,
Yeah. What's upsetting about that is that guy has built, an amazing following, being real and bringing people on from everywhere. So he speaks to everyone. He knows what he stands for, but he'll bring fuckers on that he doesn't agree with just to hear what they have to say. And then he'll have an intelligent
right.
debate, you know. And I think, I'm actually taking this off another video that I saw somebody talk, but I think it's very easy to watch a 2-minute clip of somebody and get the wrong opinion. But if you've listened to any one of his 3-hour podcasts, you learn a lot about the guy. Um, and for a company to sign a deal with a dude who's built that sort of following for $100 million, whatever it is, and then want to censor him, like that's immediately how you're just going to flip all of his
Well, here's what
followers
doesn't
off.
make sense. Here's what doesn't make sense to me, Matt. You and I are growing our brand, right?
Hmm.
Spotify or whoever comes to us with a big check, right?
Yeah,
And we kind of know that it gives us a little bit of a handcuff, but we go, you know what? I'm going to be able to take care of my family in a way I didn't before. I'm just going to go
100%.
with it, and I'll fight those battles, right? I'll fight those battles. I'll whatever. For a guy like him, 100 million was cheap. He's
Mm.
he's $1 billion brand. I
Yeah.
mean, what podcast do you listen to? The first thing out of everybody's mouth is, well, Rogan. You know what I mean? Like he's built this audience. So that check seems like a small check for him to take to even consider all this. Like he already, like the reason you do that is like, okay, these guys are going to get me manpower, access to advertisers, like all the things he
Mm.
already has.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't understand it at the time. I go, 100 million sounds small for him. Like
Yeah.
like it seems like 500 million would be like he makes what 20 million a year anyway. So
Yeah.
anyway, I just thought it was and so then of course, as soon as the first thing came up and all this shit's happening, it's like, well, why did you take the check? And I don't know what his clause is to get out, but maybe he'll get out. It's just surprising to me that he took the money because he's
Was it?
already a
Yeah,
gazillionaire from his own thing.
yeah, and he'd make plenty off the UFC as well. Um, and you know, money is attention, right? If you've got the attention, like whether he's on Spotify, whether he's on Apple, or wherever he
Right.
goes, his audience is his audience. Nobody can buy
Right.
his audience. Um, but yeah, you got to wonder. Like, I think whoever signed that deal is going to be arguing with the people who are trying to censor it. Like, whoever signed that deal isn't the guy who's trying to also censor him
Right.
because they're not an idiot. Um, so, and was it future stuff that they were trying to censor, or was it old episodes that they refused to upload?
Well, it was he said something controversial
Mm,
and people flipped out.
yeah,
And then it was like cancel culture within Spotify. Wait a minute, what about these episodes with Alex Jones? And what about these episodes with whatever? And like it just kind of like it woke up this
cascaded.
beast
Yeah,
of people
I, I
who
I think he
I
upset
I don't even understand.
Sorry.
I mean, I don't it's an interview show. You know what I mean? Here's my opinion. He's not you know what I mean? So I don't get how you or even if he did say I mean, what's the free speech thing? I don't know how free speech works there, but
Pretty much
do
the
you
same.
guys put people in like debtors prisons still down there?
In what prison?
Debtors prisons?
Debtors prisons? I haven't
You know
heard
what
that
that
term.
is?
No.
Well, if you owed money, they put you in jail.
Oh, a debtor, like DBT.
A debtor.
Debtor. Yeah.
Yes. I don't know how you have, but down there, but it's like you can't yell fire in a crowded room thing. So I don't know if that's kind of what it was, but it just I was shocked when I saw that apology video. It was like, what's going on?
Yeah. I didn't see I didn't see the apology video, but I heard a little bit of like what had happened to ruffle the feathers. I think he upset a couple of LGBTQ people because he was talking about, people who have had sex changes shouldn't be able to fight in the UFC. Like
Right,
a
right,
man who's changed to a woman should now not be able to
right,
go and fight other women. Um,
right.
yeah. So, and I think it's a bit of a leftist. The employees at Spotify
Well,
might lean
right,
that way. So
right. I would guess being right a tech company and
yeah,
whatever. But yeah, so but yeah, I was a bit surprised.
yeah. Have you
And I
seen
think
his
that the other, I want to say, go ahead.
No, no, you go.
Well, I was going to say on the sort of on the content creator thing, um, um, is uh, just trying stuff. I think is always a big thing. Um, I think we can all get very precious about something, and it's got to be perfect or it's got to be this way. And I've talked about it before. You'll see in these podcast groups all the time. People, spend hours talking about equipment and they haven't put out one episode yet, right? Or maybe they
Yeah,
put out 5 episodes, or they put out 3 episodes and they go, "So nobody's listening. How do I get people to listen?" You know what I mean? And it's like clearly you're in the wrong thing. You know what I mean? Like they assume that it's the equivalent of opening a shop, right? Turning the lights on and saying, "All right, why aren't other people coming?" Like, I don't understand.
yeah,
I'm open. My lights on. And so, just cranking away and trying stuff, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
If it's like, oh, this thing doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter. You can
yeah,
you can always take posts down. You can always um, try something else. You know what I mean? I talk all the time about you know this 5 minute show, this 5 minute news show with Josh has become, you know, the most popular thing I do week in, week out. Like an
yeah,
hour show with Josh is like, and that would have never, if I was like, well, you know what, let's try. I've never been like, here's the news from this week. I've never done that. Let's try that. Let's see what happens. And that's what it turned into. So there you go.
yeah. It's a cool thing. And I think if you try enough stuff, you'll fail heaps of shit that you do. But if you try enough stuff, the stuff that does work will drown out the stuff that didn't work. But it still
Right.
stings, right?
I feel like,
Still stings when
right.
stuff
I feel
doesn't
like
work.
you've, well, sometimes, dude, sometimes, I mean, I'm just surprised. You know, you mentioned like the falling off the obstacle. I didn't think there was anything original to that. I was just like, all right, let's do this while I'm walking around. And then people loved it. And it's like,
Yeah,
I know I'm not the first person to even do that, but people really responded well to it. Like, oh, that was so fun. But, you know, I feel like, you know, you doing what you do, it seems like it's hard to serve like two masters. Like, I'm going to be the training guy and the content. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I would love to have that piece, and it's just not me. So I've never tried to fake it. You know, I talk about how Bracken and Kirk, I think, do a really good job with that and what was needed
yeah.
in our sport over here. It seems like it would be difficult for you.
To wear the two hats, you mean?
Well, yeah, because you're like, you know, you're it's just it's a I know how hard it is just to do what I do. If I'd also try to train people or come up with that kind of content, I feel like it would be hard.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm passionate about what I do. I- I've sort of gone on a journey with a lot of different jobs and a lot of different skills and things that I've picked up along the way, and it's sort of just landed me where I am now, like with this skill set that I have to somehow do what I do and be happy doing it. Um, I really like coaching. I really like helping people achieve things and leveling people up, whether it's fitness coaching or business coaching or helping another PT take their business online or something like that. I think if you like helping people and you like serving people, there's many ways that you can do that. What you do is an extension of that as well. Um, and there's certainly aspects of coaching that I don't like, but there's aspects of being a content creator that I don't like too. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think I really want to have two companies. Like I really want to have the very neutral obstacle racing media type thing in Australia, but then the
Right.
coaching be a separate entity. But I'm just not quite there yet.
Right. What
So
about what about the guys that sort of do what I do? I originally knew the original guy, and then he broke off and sold it to somebody. And I haven't paid attention much lately, but it's just kind of like I don't even know what it's called. Obstacle Racers Australia, maybe?
oh yeah. I do a bit of stuff with them. I do a bit of content creation and stuff with them. So yeah,
Right. But are they big? Like are they like I don't know what the landscape is over there.
just haven't been active for a while. They still big, got it quite like a lot of followers, got a good database. For a long time, very active. James is a lovely bloke. He got injured, did his Achilles tendon, and had a kid as well. So he sort of just pulled
Okay.
back out of it for a while, like pulled
Right.
back off the travel. And as you know, man, you take your finger off the pulse, take your foot off the
Right.
throttle,
Well,
and
there's your
it all
opening,
just
man.
stops.
Right, but there's
Yeah,
your opening. Now you can zing right by.
it's definitely happening, man. On my I create a to-do list at the start of every year, stuff that I want to achieve and people I want to connect with and stuff that I want to happen. And on this year, I wanted to be creating content, for Spartan Australia, branded as Spartan Australian content, and we're now doing weekly content for them. And yeah, man, it's all growing. It's all heading in the right direction. So life's pretty good.
That's great.
So. Mate, what are your future plans? What are your future plans for ORM? Where do you want to take it?
Well, not sure if you know this, but I do make it up as I go, which seems to work for me. Uh, I'm I'm not like I used to be a goals guy all the time. Like I always wrote goals and make some of them, don't make some of them. Um, and um, I think having intention is sort of like the big thing for me. Like if the phrase that I preach, right? Like anybody's starting a podcast, anybody's starting something, and they go, hey, and they want to talk to me, I just go, look, consistent quality content. Like that's it, right? And so that's kind of what I wake up with every day. And everything I make fits into that, right?
Yeah.
Like almost whether it's an article or an interview, right, or a video, um, it fits that. So, I got to continue to find ways to make passive income. I feel like that's always the go for, because there are massive economic changes. So I have kind of dabbled in a couple of other things, um, but I want to continue to grow this and continue to, to feed my family doing it. And that's kind of the sort of like base level of where I want it to be, um, in terms of growing it. Like the sport, the sport can continue to thrive, but I don't, we're not going to overtake, you know, basketball, right? Like that's just not going to happen. It's going to continue to attract the people that it attracts, and um, continue to be, I think the term industry expert applies. Like I consider myself that. I'm proud of that, and I want to continue to be that. And to do that, I have to stay on top of my game, and that's where competition is really good, because for a few years there really wasn't any. Like it
Yeah.
just wasn't. And in the last few years, as more and more people turn their phone on, at a race and say I'm going to put out content, it's like legit competition. So there you go.
Yeah. Everyone's a content creator now. Um, Mikey Groom. I'm just going back through some of these comments, but Mikey Groom says he's in Virginia. Chrissy Tobin says it's a cult, talking about OCR. Matty Probes has got a question about Florida, but we are going to get into that pretty soon. But
Okay.
another couple of people are here. Sorry, I'm just making sure that
So
I'm not missing anything important. Sorry.
it's okay. No worries.
Chrissy Tobin says DNC is the most magical thing in OCR.
Dan says what?
DNC. Davis and Chase, maybe?
Oh, Davis and Chip. Sorry, I didn't hear what word you were saying. Your accent threw me off.
DNC.
DNC,
Um,
mate.
yeah, so that's cool, man. Are you looking to, you know, you said you sort of wanted to continue growing, and you said that, OCR and Spartan is going to attract the people that it attracts, right? It is a niche activity. Not everyone is as fucking crazy as we are. Um,
Right.
do you think that as a way to make it more mainstream, Decina will water it down and bring a condensed version to the masses?
I think we've seen that, and I think it's to say watered down. Mm, uh, there's definite things that they used to do that they don't do anymore, right? Uh, a super could be almost as long as a beast. A
Yeah,
sprint could be almost as long as a super. Like that kind of stuff was sort of like a wink and a nod, like 5+ miles, 8+
yeah, yeah,
miles. I just saw an old video where the Tyrolean Traverse used to always be over water, right? Always. It wasn't like when you said the Tyrolean, it's because it was hard and it was over this fucking lake. And you were going to get wet regardless, because even if you made it, you still had to get wet. So on those cold days, man, you were suffering in a beast.
yeah,
And now they do it over some wood chips. You know what I mean? So like they've already got it pretty standardized, and it's necessary if you're putting on whatever Joe says the number is, right? We know it's 60+ races in the US, pre-pandemic.
it's
We know
100
it's
a
something
year.
like 300 races worldwide, whatever it is. So I think they've got that down. I
Yeah,
don't think it's going to, like, if they made it, if they quote unquote watered it down more, then it wouldn't even be the same product. I think there's other races you can do that are easier. And um, I think they're at a good place with it. They've never said we're going to be the creative obstacle team. We're going to reinvent all the time. Like they've just
yeah,
never
yeah,
it's just never been their model. And so they're going, unlike a Savage or a Tough Mudder, who do a really lot of fun obstacles. So
yeah,
I'm okay with how Spartan is. I mean, the pros say it's too easy. They could make the pro waves harder. I think that's something they could certainly do.
yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with. I like Spartan where it's at. We have events in Australia that are a bit rougher and a bit more difficult. They're a little bit more like the Wild West. Um, but I think for a company to expand at a global scale there has to be that standardization. You have to get that McDonald's experience, right? And especially if you're going to have a sport where people are traveling and competing and there's prize money, there has to be a level of standardization as well.
Right, but it's also like really fun to see something like, oh, they do this over here. That's different because it's it's unique to the culture.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I've gotten to travel a few times and it's been pretty cool to see things that I'd never seen before and then I eventually see them in America. You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Where's been your favorite place, your favorite place to travel and race?
Favorite place to travel and race. Well, I gotta say that if you like the first thing that comes to my mind is I got to go to Andorra and here's this beautiful, I think it's the Pyrenees Mountains, something fucking gorgeous,
I've seen photos.
and I'm like, this is pretty great. This is pretty amazing to be at this place and running in the snow. Um, and that obstacle racing brought me there is pretty cool. Um, and even last year, speaking of snow, we got to run in the snow in Tahoe for the trail race, and it shut down like right as we were finishing on Saturday. That was a pretty amazing experience. Um, so yeah,
Is that the Tahoe race where they were pulling all the ultra guys off the mountain?
yes,
Shut
exactly,
it down.
exactly.
I had even my mates from Hawaii there. It looked pretty gnarly.
Yeah, so we lucked out because they had some of those people stay like you were gonna huddle up here in this house up here. What do you call it? The ski lodge thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
as we were coming through, like they were like, just come on, like just finish, like you're gonna get your medal later. Like they shut the course down for a few hours, but it was gorgeous while we were up there.
Yeah. Yeah, there was some pretty cool stories getting around. You said just backpedaling a bit. You said before Chase was your partner. Um, uh, how many people are on your team at ORM?
Well, Josh is uh I said my partner because that's how I think of him on the show, but he is not an employee or a
Okay.
contractor of ORM. Um, the bulk of the work, has always been me, and then we've had different contributors.
Yep.
Um, I've always needed a web person because that's not my forte.
Okay.
Um, I'm actually between web persons, as they say right now. So if there's somebody looking for some part-time work,
You know who actually does it?
who's that?
James from Obstacle Races Australia.
Really?
Yeah, that's who it
Um,
does.
but yeah, it's my wife calls herself the marketing manager because she helps me with some of that behind the
Cool.
scenes. Um,
Cool.
but yeah, it's I want to have it'd be great to have people I could send out on assignment all the time. But once
Yeah.
these kids are out of the house, I can probably do that.
Man, I've got newfound respect for you now because I know how much work goes into publishing and editing and just posting everywhere and setting up links and all that type of stuff. Man, you must have your hands full with the amount of content you've got coming out.
I do. Sorry, I'm not quite. My brain's not quite firing yet. So Ryan
That's okay.
and Genevieve are my social media team. So let me give a shout out to them. Um, uh, Ryan Fick, that is, has been with me for years.
Yeah, cool.
He's actually been on the Ultravirus, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. He's helped me co-host
Yeah.
those. But he and Genevieve in Canada have been my social team for a couple years now. Can I actually? I hate to do this to you. People get mad at
All
me all
good.
the time, but can I get a refill? Can you fill time with an advert while I
A
while I grab
coffee?
a coffee?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, hang on.
All good. This is the first, guys. Let's go through some comments. So interesting chat so far, guys. I've got a heap of questions that I'm going to run through. So stick around, and we will get through some content. I've got a few guys live. Corey's here. Gary's here. Kerry's saying, damn, does this mean I'm going to have to binge listen to 1,700 Joe Rogan podcasts before they get censored? Yes, you might have to. It will be worthy listening. What I would do is go through the podcast list and just look at stuff that like you're either really interested in or not at all interested in and listen to those. Because when you listen to stuff that you're interested in, that's always amazing. But when you listen to stuff that you have like no fucking interest in, that's when you have this like steep learning curve and you just learn heaps of random shit. So that's usually how I play it. Because look, he puts out a lot of podcasts too, Joe Rogan, and they're like 3 hours, 4 hours long. That's a lot of time. So are you coffeeed back up?
Coffee and banana.
And banana. Nice. I actually had a coffee just before we went on. So it's
To stay up
10,
late over
10
there.
at night here. I just wanted. I was up early this morning, so I was getting a little bit. You know, when you're just getting a bit groggy at night. So I'm like, I'm just gonna have a coffee and then fuck
No,
sleep
I'm
later.
out. I'm out, dude. But by 10 o'clock, I'm deep in bed, about to fall asleep.
Yeah, that's usually about where I am. Um, Man, you mentioned ultravirus race. So let's chat about that. The ultravirus was the virtual worldwide race series that you started putting on once COVID came along and started fingering everyone. How did that come
Yeah, so
about?
that's it. Well, speaking of just trying something,
Mm,
I'd watched this um, virtual backyard ultra, um, which was the race where you run, you know, 4.123 miles on a treadmill or around your neighborhood,
mm,
and you've got an hour to make it back, and the last man standing wins, right?
pretty cool.
So, um, so Laz, who does the Barkley Marathon, does one, and this was the virtual version, and 2,000 people signed up,
Wow.
and I was so excited to tune in and watch it, and there was no commentating. It was just watching people like leave from their empty garage, or then watching people on treadmill, like they were all muted, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, well, this will get better um, as um, as we get down to the final two or three. And we get down to the final two or three, and it's Mike Wardian and a couple other people, and you get about 8 to 10 minutes to rest between each lap,
Yeah.
and all you would hear is like you'd see these two guys on the screen, and it's amazing. They've been at it for 3 days, and all you'd hear is like,
Yeah.
"Okay, guys, there's two people left, and we're gonna start in 2 minutes." It was the most boring fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. Is the point?
Yeah.
So, but the proof of concept was there that people want to do something. So I thought, well, I'll do something like this, but I'll make it fun. Like have a leaderboard. That was the other thing. Like every time the thing started, people were like, "Who's left? Where's so and so?" Like have a fucking leaderboard. I said, this does not seem like a tough concept, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll do this. It'll be fun. We'll get like 100 people. It'll be and we'll just do 5 mile loops, like world's toughest, right? And toughest.
Mm,
And I hit the exact right timing of people being sick of the boring of other ultra races,
yeah.
virtual races. Tough Mudder hadn't started theirs yet. Spartan hadn't really started theirs yet. And so we got close to 400 people, and I was over the moon. It was amazing. People were so ready to see their friends again. And again, this was another like, Joe DeSena talks about that, right? Like fire, ready, aim instead of ready, aim, fire. And I'm the same
Yeah.
way. Like, let's just
It's
do
good.
it.
It's a good
And
book.
um, so I'm like, let's just do it. We'll do it in 3 weeks and off we go. And so the first one was a massive hit and people loved it. And the second one, same thing. We got just about as many. And then I was like, oh, we'll do one more. And honestly, like it wasn't as big. I didn't promote it as much. We were all getting kind of sick of it. You know what I mean? We're all
Mhm.
like virtual raced out, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I thought, the other thing is it was the middle of July and it was fucking hot and horrible, right? Which is very different than doing it in March or April.
Yeah.
You were there. We had people all over the world doing it. It was so
Yeah.
like went so well. We had cool prizes. I gave away a bunch of money, too much money. That was a mistake. Um, I had to write two people a check for $1,044. I had to
Some
Venmo
big
them,
dollars. Yeah.
right? That's not small, right? That's a lot of
Yeah.
cereal. But I was happy to do it. They earned it, and I said I was going to do it, so I did it. But anyhow, so then we thought, okay, we kept thinking we got to do something different. Like we've done this concept, now Tough Mudder's done this concept. Like we have to do something different. Um, and it just like I don't know when, but it just hit me. I'm like, what if we just do add a mile every time, right? So first lap is 1 mile, second loop is 2 miles, three loop is 3 miles. It's pretty easy until you get up to like 6 or 7, and now you've already run 30 something miles. Um, but then Dario, who's my other partner, Dario, who is on the web development side and helps me with this race, was like, well, listen, you're not going to get anybody to go out for 13 miles if there's only 2 hours left in the race or whatever. So what if they got to 10, we go back down? So that's the format. We go up to 10, which at that point is like 55, I think. I have to go look at the count. And then you start going back down. So some of those elite guys and gals are going to go out for that one more, and we'll see what happens. So there you
So
go.
so so explain the structure of this one again.
Well, can I share my screen?
Yeah, of course.
All right, well, hang on. Let me make sure we're open to the right page here. Share screen. Start sharing. Oh, it doesn't even ask. Can you see that?
Just bang. Yeah, I can bring it on screen. Just give me half a tick.
Oh, just tell me if you can see this.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we go to FAQ. So first lap, 1 mile. Second lap, 2 miles. Third lap, 3 miles. Fourth lap, 4 miles. Fifth lap, 5 miles, like this. So,
Okay. That makes sense.
so by the time we get over here, you've put in some miles, right?
Yeah,
You've put in quite a few miles, and by the time you get to 10, I think you've done either in the 50s somewhere. I'm sorry, I don't have the math in front of me, but it would be hard to then go 11, 12, 13, just because you're going to run out of time. So we started going back down. If anybody makes it to here, phenomenal, but most people are going to be, somewhere in here. And then other than that, it's the same format as before. We have the Zoom. I have decided we can close this if we want. I have decided that you don't need to. You don't need to. We're not going to have you email anymore. Just send the Strava links. And if you want to hop on the screen, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. Because we used to have you hop on the screen and check in and send an email. And the people that are going to cheat are going to cheat. And we found those people. And, if they're going to cheat, they're going to cheat through Strava. Because we thought, well, if you do all these things, it'll help save the thing. So anyway, we'll just have you hop on. Join the Zoom if you want. If otherwise, just click your Strava, and the Strava is easy to. It's I think harder to cheat. Whereas a 5 mile loop, you can sort of fake easier because you're doing. But if you're doing a rising thing, it's kind of. Am I making sense?
Yes. Yes. It's probably a bit harder for somebody to strategically plan how they're going to cheat that.
Correct.
Yeah. It's so those laps, are they set times, or you can just
No,
run out
it's
and do the laps
just
whenever
like
you want?
before. Yeah, just like before.
Okay.
Oh, and that's the other slight difference. Sorry, that was an English accent.
I
See, how
don't
do
know
we do
what that
Australia?
was.
Okay. Uh, a slight difference. You kind of have that sing-song thing going, right?
Yeah. We go high on the end of sentences.
Right? We go high. We're gonna go high.
Yeah.
High. I love accents. What can I tell you, man?
I do too. I do too.
Can you do an
I've got
American
a
accent?
oh, probably not. Probably not.
Okay.
I'd
Um,
have to like go into character. I'd have to listen to it for a little while and learn it.
right,
I can just sort of randomly bust them out occasionally, but not on the spot
right.
currently.
So can I, but if I go too long, it just sounds English because they
Yep.
all kind of run into that way.
It'll just
But if
revert
I
back to
listen,
English.
if you listen to it a lot, like it's hard not to. Like I've talked to Deanna Blegg a fair amount, right? Of course, you know
Yeah.
who she is.
Yeah, I
Legend,
chatted to her a
mate,
few weeks
legend.
ago.
And whenever I talk to her, it's like it's just this such a like, you guys have just this lovely sing-song way about you. And if I'm talking to her, I start doing it, and it's, probably insulting. So anyway,
She
sorry.
she is lovely, Deanna. I chatted to her just after Eco Challenge launched on TV,
Right, right.
on Amazon, and yeah, she's just an amazing woman. She's lovely. So
So what was the question? What were we talking about? Oh, so the other
ultra
slight
race.
difference is the other slight difference is um, before we did it how if you run 3 laps and it takes you 58 minutes, right? And I run 3 laps and they take me 57 minutes. If you, I would win the race because I did it in less time. Now we're doing gun time, which is the true racing.
Okay.
So it's the fastest to that amount, right? So
Yeah.
just like in World's Toughest, if you finish, if the person goes out for another lap, they can beat you, right? Or
Mm.
if you get to 50 miles and then sit in your ass for 12 hours, you still beat all the people that did 45 miles that took longer to get there. So before
Yep.
we didn't have that distinction because it was just harder to write the code, I guess, but that's the slight difference is it's true gun time.
Yeah. Cool. Do you have any idea on numbers
Oh,
for the progression?
for how many people?
Hmm.
Oh, we're still less than 100. Like, I kind of like, I knew that a lot's going on. I'm doing this 50K race this weekend. And after that, I'm probably going to go just ham on, I mean, to grow the first one, I literally DM'd, I don't know, 100 people, maybe
Yeah.
more. Like, and then it kind of got going before on its own. And I kind of like didn't have to do that. And I'll probably go back to doing that for this one.
Yeah.
Um, and I've gotten back to getting a lot of good prizes. So we'll have, let's see, I can tell you who I've talked to already.
Cool. We've
I'll
actually
wait.
got
I'll wait to release the prizes, but we're working on a lot of good ones.
cool. We've actually got an event on that day. I've got a Raw Challenge, which is a race organizer up here. Um, they've got an event on where they've actually got prize money, and it's their sort of big event
What's
for
it
the year.
called?
It's called
What's it
Raw
called?
Challenge. Raw Challenge. R
Oh,
O
I've heard of
W
that one.
R A W.
I've heard of that.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. It's really nice. I've actually just moved up to the Gold Coast, and it'll be my first time running a proper event there. So I don't know if I'm going to do the ultravirus because
Well, listen.
it's different time now, isn't it? Are you running through the
No,
night?
same time. No, same time. It's day to start daytime over here, which is night over there.
It must have when I pulled it up on the website. It must have auto corrected my time zone because it told me it was a 10 p.m. start.
When I go to when I go to Raw Challenge and I go to events, it doesn't show in events.
Raw Challenge Gold Coast. So there was a family who started Raw Challenge and they started a couple of events around Australia and then sold them off one by one. So now they're all sort of separate entities.
Because this is rawchallenge.com. This is not that.
No, Raw Challenge Gold Coast. One sec. I'll send you the link.
No, I'll find it, but just there is another one that's confusing because it's also an obstacle race.
Yeah, yeah. So there's three. There's one in Queensland, one in New South Wales, and one in Tasmania. I've just sent you the link.
What about Perth?
Perth, they had the APAC over there in 2017, but they run a few events over there. And a new company called Red Dust OCR just ran their first event over there. And there's True Grit, which is a nationwide um, race organizer that run an event over there in October. True Grit are actually where the 24-hour OCR World
I was
Championships.
going to say True Grit's the enduro,
Yeah, yeah. So True Grit do the enduro in Sydney,
right?
but they also run an event over in Perth. So they're another cool race
Well,
organizer as well.
listen, listen. You could go run your race and then come home, nap, and then rock out a couple of laps in the ultravirus.
I just might, man. It's actually a better format because I like the 1 mile, the 2 mile, the 3 mile because then I can just tap out when I want. But
So they've got listed here about the COVID situation. What is it like right now in where you live? What is it like? Or is it places are open and you wear masks? Is it a lot of things
Yeah.
are still closed? What is it like?
So I'm in Queensland, so the northeastern state, and it's we haven't had any community transmissions here for a couple of months, I think. Um, so we're pretty much just life as usual. We're just walking around, but our states are closed, so our borders are closed. So we're not letting anyone in from New South Wales. Melbourne is still in complete lockdown, so they're still in houses. They're not allowed to leave. Their gyms are shut. Their bars, clubs are shut. Everything's shut. So Melbourne's crazy. New South Wales just picked up a few new cases, but they had gone days without any cases at all. Um, yeah, so our numbers are small, but every time they spike a little bit, the government goes, "That's it, get back in the fucking house." So
What about Tasmania?
I think Tasmania is pretty free, but they're a tiny little island, man, out in the middle of fucking nowhere. Like that, Tasmania has the cleanest air in the world.
What about uh, Papua New Guinea?
I don't know about Papua New Guinea. It's not our jurisdiction.
They're your neighbors, mate.
I don't know about their COVID situation. I don't know what is
It
going
looks
on
like a
outside of
short.
Australia. We just can't travel
It looks like it looks like a very short swim from the tip of Queensland
to
to
Papua
Papua
New
New Guinea.
Guinea.
Looks like a pretty short.
We could probably do it in a canoe.
Why don't you? That's what I think you should do. I think you should launch. Like, does Spartan have a race there yet?
I don't think they do in Papua New Guinea.
You,
I
what do you
was
guys? What do you guys people call? What do you call people from Papua New Guinea?
Papua New Guineans.
That's it. There's no like nickname for them.
There's probably a few, but there's PC reasons why I can't say them.
Oh, okay, that's fine. We'll talk offline. Uh, if I name a town, can you tell me what province it's in? So they're provinces, right? These five big areas. These are provinces or territories?
States and territories. We've got 7 of them.
Well, it looks like so. Okay, so what are these five? One, two, three, four, five. Western, Northern, South, Queensland, New South Wales. That's five. What are those called? Provinces?
States. Well,
State.
states, Northern Territory, so the one in the middle at the top is a territory.
Right.
So that's
Right.
Northern Territory. Western Australia is a state. South Australia is a state. Victoria is a state. New South Wales is a state, and Queensland's a state. And then Australian Capital Territory is in the middle of New South Wales, and that's where our capital, Canberra, is. So there's like this tiny little territory in
Are
the middle.
most of the races Queensland and New South Wales? Are most of the races?
Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland. So sort of along the eastern seaboard and then down to the southeast.
Right. That's kind of what I thought.
And that's where like most of the population density is as well.
Right. But all the way on the other side of the country is Perth, but that's literally like what, like a 16-hour flight or something?
Yeah, man. It's oh no, it's not that far. It's probably about 6 hours on a plane, 5 maybe, depending on which way
Okay.
the wind's blowing. But it's about 4,000 k's, I think, which is
Right.
what's that in miles? 2,500 miles maybe.
Yeah.
It's a big place.
Do people do stuff like run across Australia?
I actually spoke to the guy, David O'Halloran. He holds like over 50 Guinness World Records. He was the second guy to run across, second guy to run around Australia. He was the first guy to run across all of Australia's deserts. He ran like 48 marathons in 24 days across the sand in one of his desert runs.
Yeah.
Just an absolute fucking animal. He's like
That's yeah, my friend
61 now.
Charlie Engle did that. You can see him.
Mm.
You can see the movie he ran called is it called Desert Runners? No, what's it called? What the hell's this movie called? Because there's another movie called
I've
Desert
heard
Runners.
of it.
So Charlie, it's called Running the Sahara, and that's a pretty amazing story. if you want to get that on documentary, Running the Sahara.
Yeah. Sure.
Desert Runners is another one that a lot of people have seen. I was actually going to interview what's her name, who was in that movie. She was in the desert, the Four Deserts movie, Desert Runners. She was in Eco. She's one of yours.
Oh yeah.
What's her name? Is it Sam? Samantha? Come on, man. How can you not know these things?
Mm. Not sure.
Samantha
It'll come
Gash.
to me. Name sounds familiar. I don't know though.
Come on, man.
I just
How do
I
you
just
not
like
know
the
this
obstacles,
person?
man. I just like the obstacle races.
Here she is.
Hold on, I'll bring that on.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I'm just gonna picture it. One sec. Oh. Oh yeah.
So here's
She does look familiar.
I'll give. All right. I'm going to give you a task if you wanna take it on. Go watch that movie. I think it's free. It's called Desert Runners. And then after
Cool.
you watch it, right?
Yeah.
Email me and I'll introduce you and you can interview her.
Done, man. I'm definitely down for that.
Because she's somebody that I tried to interview, but we actually haven't quite set it up yet because the timing didn't work out. But it's a
Okay.
great little movie, great little
Yeah,
doc.
cool. I'll check it out. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Actually, David O'Halloran, the guy I was just talking about, he holds a record for the world's longest obstacle race. He did a 500-kilometer obstacle race across 12 days. Holds the Guinness World
Where
Record.
where was it? Where was it?
Australia somewhere
But how do you set that up?
with Guinness World Records, I assume, or
No, but how
some.
do you set up all the obstacles?
I have no idea. They mapped out a course. There were carries, there were crawls, there were walls, there was all that type of stuff.
Do
And
you know my friend Josh? I mentioned him earlier. Josh Chase has a Guinness World Record. He has the longest wang in New Hampshire.
cool. I I did follow him on Instagram, Josh Chase. Haven't seen his wang though. It only took how long? An hour, and it's turned to smut. Only an hour.
Sorry, man.
I thought it'd be quicker.
Sorry.
An interesting thing that you said earlier that I really want to come back to, talking about the ultra virus race. You were talking about Laz Barkley Marathon's absolute raving fucking lunatic of a man,
Right.
who I've not met, but I've seen the Barkley show, the doco.
Right.
Um,
Right.
you know, I imagine when he puts events on, he's putting his events on for a very special type of person. And
Correct.
he doesn't give a fuck about any of the other people. He's like, I'm gonna
Right.
do what I do, and it's the people that it's right for, that's fucking right for. Right? Um, it's an interesting like listening to you say I saw what they were doing and thought, fuck that, I'm gonna do it different. Like it's amazing how people put their own lens on things, and you brought
Right.
into your event the stuff that you cared about and the stuff that you valued. And it's an interesting question. Like when I'm talking to somebody who's maybe getting started in business or wants to start a business, it's like find out what your perfect is. So if I had to say, what's your perfect car? I can ask that
Right.
question to everyone and I'll get a different answer because people value different things.
Right.
But it's just interesting, like you being more of an entertainer and a showman, that you create the event that is more like a more like a main event and community thing
Right.
where people were going to hang
Right.
out. It was
Right. Well, so here's the other thing, Matt. I thought ultra runners would love this event. I thought this is going to get all those people that
yeah,
signed up for that treadmill one, but here's a more fun one and it's a cooler challenge. And I got a couple of like decent names sort of right away. And then they never did it and I couldn't figure out why. And I learned a couple things. One is the good side, I'd say, is that it did speak to, people use this word brand all the time, but this like my brand, right? People
yeah,
like Matt, people like ORM, Matt's goofy, Matt's fun, Matt's whatever. We trust him. We'll give him our money and do this event, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't, and that was huge for me. Like, oh wow, like people were doing it because I put it on. Conversely, ultra runners don't know who I am, don't really want to be seen as the type that hang with obstacle racers. A lot of them don't even want to like, they don't want to run in their fucking neighborhood. They want to just go out on the trails. You know what I mean? So it's like it
Yeah.
wasn't really for them, even though I thought it would be. Um, and when I asked the other ultra runners who've done it, Beverly Abs, who's a legend, done Barkley multiple times. She won that. You know how everyone just did the virtual race across Tennessee? She won the real one last year, I think. And then Mike Wardian, of course, did it. And then I got what's her name to do it. I'm sorry, I can't think of her name. And of course, she won for the girls last time. I can't think of it, but anyway. But the ultra runners they're like, yeah, we'll pass. You know what I mean? Like they just didn't like it, and it was like I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I thought they would love it and they don't, but obstacle racers do love it. And so that's what we found out. You know what I mean? I mean, for me, it's like, dude, I read all the business books in the world back when I had my first business. And you pick up like a thing here and a thing there. But I mean, I see you've got some behind you there, right? Like any good entrepreneur, right? I see them behind you there.
It's always a couple.
And I've, like, I don't know if looking back, if any of them did good, meaning like, you know what I mean? Like I'm looking at, like I read all the Kiyosaki books back when I can see them from here. You know who he is, right?
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
What's that?
Rich Dad Poor
Yeah,
Dad.
yeah. So classic. Yeah, that one, I think there's a few that like stick with you, right?
I
Like
think you
that one
pick up.
stuck with.
I think you pick up a few nuggets out of everywhere. Like you read a book and you'll get like the first chapter's great and the last chapter's great, and then there's a lot of filler in the fucking middle. But if you come away with a few good points, I think it's like tools in your toolbox, right? Where you just come across and
Right,
you're like, fuck, I remember that one thing I read ages ago. But
right.
there's no like
But it's
definitive
also just
Bible.
like I look back at a lot of now as just like entertainment, right? Like
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if I picked like people ask me about business books, and usually I always say the E Myth, right? I think that's like the basic for any entrepreneur. You've read that one, I'm sure, right? And then the other one is Good to Great, and I think Good to Great
I haven't
is
read Good to
just,
Great.
oh, dude, got to be at the top of your list.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
writing it down, man. I'm writing lots of stuff down.
and then and the everything else is like just part of the journey. But like I don't read any business books anymore. You know what I mean? I've got zero interest in reading a business book now. Like I would much rather spend that time just doing another interview. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Because that's just
yeah.
where I'm at. You know what I
Throwing
mean?
shit at the wall, see what sticks, and just learning your craft and perfecting it and trying different stuff.
Yeah,
I
but
think
that's what
you.
works. But
Sorry.
again, Matt, that's what works for me. Some people
Yeah.
can't start their day without the list and the plan, right? And that's
Yeah.
great if that's what works for you. There is no
Yeah.
there is no one way to greatness. Greatness is the way. I didn't say that. I don't know who did.
I think you said right at the start. Right at the start, you were worshipping Gary Vee's content. Um, I think at certain points you need different things to sort of level up, and then you get to the next level and you don't need that thing that you needed to get there. You know what I mean? You now need something different. What are your you've mentioned a couple of your business books there, but what are your top five books that you've read?
Well, and again, entertainment value wise, I picked up this other book. It was literally sitting in a pile,
Hmm.
like somebody was like moving and like giving away other books.
Yeah.
And now I can't think of the name of it. So let me look up the premise and then I'll tell you the title, because it like I picked this up because the cover looked weird. Um, and then I read it in like I couldn't put it down.
Yeah, sure.
Um, hang on a second. It's called. Hang on. It's called Disrupted.
Yeah.
Um, it's about this guy. It's a picture of a guy with a fucking. You'll just if you look it up. It's called Disrupted: My Misadventures in the Startup Bubble, and a journalist went to go work for HubSpot,
Okay.
and he's like basically this is what it's like working with a bunch of millennials now, and he could and like the sort of the startup culture and how crazy it is and was,
Yeah.
and basically how these companies have convinced these kids to to work for benefits and not money, and how it isn't necessarily good. And it was just a great read. So that's the last book I read that I can even
Cool.
think of. But I've never been a fiction reader. I've always been nonfiction, either business books or biographies. Like I've just never been like, I've never been a fiction reader.
I used to read a lot of fiction growing up, but probably 3 or 4 years ago, I decided to read a book a week, and I've stuck. Probably not too accurate. I may be a book a fortnight at the moment, but like some sort of personal development.
I thought a fortnight was a week.
Yeah.
I mean, I could walk over and look and try to remember. What's that?
Is that a joke about the fortnight?
I'm trying like.
Is that an Australian saying?
No, like I thought a fortnight was a week. Like when you're a kid, you start hearing the word fortnight, and so you look it up and you go, "Oh, it's about a week."
Oh.
But you're saying it might be like 2 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. It's probably 2 books a month I get through at the moment.
Okay. It's funny. I'm not wearing my glasses, so I literally cannot even see my books from here. But I feel like I want to tell you because I'm sure there's some good ones that I liked. Oh, whose shit I dove into.
Your teeth are cleaned up, by the way.
What?
Your teeth are clean, by the way.
Did I just lean right into the camera?
Like right on the camera there.
I'm sorry.
No, it's good.
You know who I got into big time was, did you read Delivering Happiness?
No. Who wrote that?
Delivering Happiness is the Zappos guy.
Oh yeah. I've read it.
So I bought
the guy who talks a lot about the Zappos guy is Seth Godin, who's an amazing marketer.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So Delivering Happiness, I read it and then I listened to it on CD, or I listened to it on CD and then I read it. And I think that one is pretty fascinating, especially when you see the guy. His name's Tony Hsieh. He's not Tony Robbins. He's not a rah-rah guy. He's a very sort of quiet, small Asian man, and he built this company of amazing culture. That's what everybody wants now, culture. But this is back when people were first talking about that in like 2009, 2010. So that one jumps out at me. Delivering Happiness, check that one out.
Zappos started the handwritten notes, right? That was them who did like the handwritten notes in every delivery.
Well, it was free shipping both ways was kind of the first thing.
Yeah.
And now, everybody does that. But when they started it, nobody did that because that's a lot of money. Basically, if you call right now and order your first pair of shoes, they'll upgrade you to the next day shipping. Like if you pay for the regular, or like you can like pay for the regular, but they'll update it to overnight. Free returns, like all the stuff that pretty much almost all companies do now that like it was unheard of. Other than what's that one company that you can have their stuff for 20 years and still return it? I forget that company.
I have no idea. But over here, like we being such a big country with not a huge population, we have logistical challenges. So we're literally just starting to see like Amazon get big over here. And the idea of like they've been around, but not like now it's starting to they're really starting to grow. They're opening DCs all around. And like just the idea that you can buy something online and they throw the fucking parcel in the window like 45 minutes later, like it's unfucking believable. Like normally here, like our express post, which you pay extra for, is like 3 days. So it's
I can't believe you guys are just getting Amazon. That's crazy. It's been a way of life here for a decade.
Yeah. It's always been there, but it just wasn't like the level. Like they now have DCs in each state, so now they can actually get the speed.
Right. Does DC stand for distribution center?
Yeah. So books. My favorite book is a book. It's not a business book. It's a book called How Bad Do You Want It by a guy called Matt Fitzgerald, who is a endurance athlete, journalist, and coach. And it's all about like sports psychology, and it's amazing. One thing, you've done a lot of interviews. Who's been your favorite person? Who's been your favorite person?
Oh my God!
I'll go back and watch it.
Who's been my favorite person to interview? All right.
Yeah,
Well, I can send you the Gary V ones because
cool.
just getting to meet him was pretty big.
I bet, man.
Um,
I saw him speak in Sydney. He's amazing.
right. Um, but those were short. Like those were really short. Um, who's been my favorite person to interview? I should know this question, right? I should probably know this.
It's funny because I had a client. I did my client yoga Q&A. So I do like a Q&A stretch session for my clients once a week, and one one of my clients asked me the same question, and I'd already had it written for you, and it was like, who's been the favorite person you've interviewed? And I'm like, it's pretty fucking subjective because like I've had interviews with athletes who are really smart and I've learnt a lot, and then I've had interviews with guys and we just laughed the whole fucking time, and it was really
Right,
entertaining, and they're both
right,
really good, but
right,
it's like picking your favorite child, right? You can't do that.
right. And it's we'll get a little bit into the weeds here, Matt, but I had a very hard time for a long time uh, explaining, believing that I was good at my job. How about that?
Yeah.
Because, well, it's quote unquote just talking to people, right? But the more I've done it and the more I've listened to who's good at it and who's not good at it, I've learned it is a craft, it is an art, it is a skill, right?
Yeah.
And much like we talked about before, there is no one right way to do it. There's a great podcast you should check out called, um, of course, I forget the name of it. Um, hang on, I'm gonna look it up. Give me a second. Uh, oh, hang on. It's called The Turnaround with Jesse Thorne. And The Turnaround was him interviewing great interviewers. And so
Okay.
that's why I was like, get it? Like turnaround,
Turning it around, yeah.
right? So he spoke with,
What
to
was his
name
name?
a,
Sorry, Jesse.
Jesse Thorne. So he spoke to Ira Glass,
Yeah, cool.
Mark Maron, Audie Cornish, Larry King, Errol Morris, Jerry Springer, like people from all walks of life um, that interviewed, Katie Couric. And so, these are people who, um, all different kinds of interviewers. And the examples I'll use are, so Ira Glass, is the NPR guy, right? You know who he is?
Hmm.
He's like a legend over here. So
Yeah.
they do these stories, right? So he'll go to a town and have 100 hours of tape and use like a minute of it or less, right? Or what's her name from NPR? What's her name? Terry Gross. When she sits down, if Terry Gross sits down for an interview, she's got an A path and a B path and a C path. Like if this goes this way, we're going to ask these next 20 questions, right?
Yep.
And then there's someone like Mark Maron, right, who just lets it rip, right?
Yep.
Or even Larry King, who you can make fun of him in his older age, but he said, I want to learn as the audience is learning. I don't want to know anything about the person. I want to learn as the audience. And that's how I do it, right? I
Yeah.
do a little Googling if I don't know them. I know a couple of facts, a couple of starting points. I used to worry and like, well, I should make a note to make sure I ask that. And then I just stopped doing that altogether and I just trust myself. And
Yeah.
once in a great while, I'll forget. Once in a great while, I'll be like, no, I didn't ask them to do whatchamacallit. Um,
Yeah.
so, if you're sitting down with someone and there's this dance you're doing where are they being honest? Are they being forthright? Are they, you know what I mean? Like trying to get them comfortable with you. Like all that's for me, like kind of the fun of it. And so sometimes it's right away, right? You sit down, you're thick as thieves with somebody. It's really
Yeah.
fun. Um, and, sometimes it doesn't go that way.
Yeah.
So I can tell you that I always like talking, to bring it around to OCR, I can tell you that I always like talking to Joe DeSena because he's a bit of a loon and I know he'll he'll say what's on his mind, and I know that I can call him on his bullshit, and he's gonna be real with me. So he's one of my favorites
Yeah,
to talk to.
yeah. He's an interesting guy. I was lucky enough. He came over here to run a 100K race, um, and he was in Sydney and ran like a boot camp. So I turned up there with a couple of clients, and after the boot camp, I said, Joe, where are you off to? And he's like, I've got to walk back to my hotel. I said, well, do you mind if I walk with you and we have a chat and I do an interview? And he's like, yeah, man, as long as we're walking. So
Right.
I was lucky enough to go on Facebook and do a live with him while we were walking. And he's an interesting character, right? He's a little bit screws loose, but he's a visionary.
No, he's definitely a nutter, right? As they say, a bit of a
Yeah,
nutter.
yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Mad as a
yeah,
cut snake, we'd
he's
say.
great.
Did you get that?
Mad as a cut snake.
Yeah, that's what we'd say here. He's fucking mad as a cut snake. But yeah, interesting guy. And you're always there. He he picks on you a little bit too. He's a
Right.
So I can tell there's good like there's a good banter there, which is
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is pretty cool.
Yeah, we've become, dare I say, friends, and I think there's like a mutual respect, and
Yeah,
I think he respects hard work more than anything. I think that's what like like I don't think he gives his kids. I think he's the kind of dad that never gives praise, right?
yeah,
Like that doesn't turn to his kids and say good job. But I think if I was going to guess, like I think that's one of the reasons he likes me is that he knows I've worked really hard at this, and so I think
yeah,
that's you know what I mean,
yeah, yeah. You've hustled.
right?
You you also do a lot of gear reviews at ORM.
Right.
So a little I guess exercise I wanted to work with you today is working your way through your ultimate gear loadout.
Oh wow.
So
I thought about doing a video for this. I've been thinking about it for a long time, and then
we're
I
doing it
heard
now.
that, well, that's great. And I heard that Bracken and Kirk are doing one. So, are we talking about just a regular Spartan race, or what are we talking about?
Let's say like trifecta weekend.
You're saying to someone who hasn't done a trifecta weekend. I mean, I can tell you, like, I've got an ultra race I'm running this Saturday. I can tell you what I'm going to be doing for that. Do
Sure. Let,
you want to do
sure.
that?
Yeah, definitely.
My favorite trail shoe right now is the Hoka Speedgoat GTX. Sorry, Hoka Speedgate 4 GTX. It is uh, the best trail shoe I've ever worn. There, I've said it. Uh,
It's
OCR shoe.
Hocker are pretty known for a big stack. Yeah,
Well, originally that was like their thing, right?
yeah.
There's many like more regular versions. I mean, I can show you. It's not. You can look up the specs, but it's not.
I've yeah. I think I did see the review at your link tree when I was digging around there earlier.
So that's my favorite shoe. OCR shoe is the VJ Extreme, those red
Sure.
shoes that everybody wears.
Yep, I've got the
Um,
Maxes and the
Although a lot of
Iros.
people had a lot of people had the IROX on at Savage, but I love the VJ Max. Have you worn the VJ Max?
Yeah, I wore the VJ Max for my Ultra at Bright last year. I've got really wide feet, so they just don't work for me. I put them on in the first 10, 20 Ks. I'm like, these are fucking amazing, and then my feet swell, and I'm like, this is not amazing.
You can't even
So
with a size up, you can't do it.
it just gets too big. I've just got like fucking wide feet, so I'm actually going
Right.
to Ultras now because they're just so
Right. People
wide.
love. Right.
Yeah,
Um, so I've been wearing Mud Gear socks since 2013.
cool.
However, for an ultra, I'm going to put on the Injinji socks because they've got the toe
Toe
spreaders.
socks.
So I
Yeah,
recommend that for anything you know longer than a marathon. I would say go with that.
cool.
That's my recommendation.
Yeah, cool.
I also there's a couple of uh, so I wear these X racewear shorts, which are the kind that have the bib thing right here, right? and you just stick your bib right in there instead of having to. I don't know if you can you see me? Um, and there's honestly nothing that special about them, but I've been wearing them forever, and so it's what I wear.
Yeah.
And then under, I found two things I really like. Have you heard of this brand Runderwear?
I can't say I have.
Okay, so I actually use there's this they make like the boxer brief style and then like the bikini, I guess, style, and I don't really like the banana hammock thing. So I like the boxer brief style, but not I can't wear them over like 5 miles for whatever reason. So then I just wear again mud gear again has these under shorts that
Yeah.
are perfect.
Yeah.
Some guys I know some guys just race in the undergarment, right? They don't
Yeah.
put shorts over it.
Yeah.
I can't do I do not I'm not that free.
Yeah. For underwear. I'm actually gonna
Um,
I'm gonna look them up because I have had some
right. But
chafing issues over the
look up,
years.
but Mudgear, but Mudgear, let's look up what they call their underwear. Mudgear
I'm actually just
underwear. Let's
just
have,
trying to find you a photo or two as well because I have been known to run races in my bikini briefs in my speedos.
right,
I actually ran the Spartan Race Hawaii in in my speedos, and I
right.
upset a lot of American men. They
Really?
were quite confronted by that.
Are you being serious?
I wouldn't say upset, but they were quite startled. They were like, "Fuck, man, you're out of control." Um, they all just kept saying that's a bold move, Carton, and I had no idea what the fuck that meant.
Well, it's unoriginal jokes. It's from whatchamacallit.
I figured it was pop culture, like it was out of a show or something.
Yeah, it's from oh my God, I can't believe my brain doesn't want to work. What's the game where the ball where you throw it at each other's heads?
I don't know.
You play it as kids. People are yelling it right now at their screens.
I don't know. That was the Spartan Race Hawaii.
Uh, Dodgeball.
Dodgeball.
Dodgeball. It's from a movie called Dodgeball.
I know that movie, but I
Mudgear.
can't remember the quote.
It's okay. Doesn't matter. Mudgear base layer boxer brief. That's my
Cool.
go-to undergarment, and then X racewear shorts on top of that. Um,
Awesome.
for a shirt, honestly, I'll put on whatever tech tee. However, when it gets to be winter, there's a couple of I don't know if you have a favorite long sleeve, but I do. Favorite long sleeve. It fits me just the way I like it, and it's just the perfect texture. So I have this one shirt that I got. I love that. It says like Chicago Marathon on it, which I didn't run, but who cares? It's perfect for me. Um, and then I recently, a review that's also coming, I started running with let's see, what's it called? The Camelback. Hang on, I gotta look at what it's called. I probably have it nearby. I could have brought this stuff, man. I could have brought it on camera for us if I had known you were gonna
All
ask
good.
this.
Well, it was funny as you were saying, you used to take notes and then you don't take notes. I take notes, but I don't know if I'm going to use the notes. And it's sort of like if
Right.
it sort of organically goes there, it goes there. Um,
Right.
but I interviewed one person once and it was just like fucking dead. There was just I was getting nothing from him and I'm like, fuck, I wish I had notes.
Well, but I think sometimes just people aren't gonna they're just not gonna go there um and
There,
then
there were a couple of things that I
you
definitely wanted to ask you. Like there were a couple of things that I wanted to write down. This was a big one because you review a lot of gear, man. So I thought it'd be an interesting one.
hang on, let me look at the name of this Camelback. Dun 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 dun. And I can
I
send
run
you
in
these links
a
if you want.
I run
If
in
you
a
want me to send you,
Camelback Lobo, just by chance
so
if
this
it's the
is
same one.
this is the Zephyr vest.
Okay.
So it's got the two little bottles right here.
Hmm.
And I'd always gone with the bladder in the back, like my whole life. and I'd never done little bottles before, and
Yeah.
I really like this bag. I've tested it a ton. Like, so zipper in the front right here, so you put 3 goos right there, and
Yeah.
then you can
Cool.
put a bunch of stuff in the back so that you can always like. So like when I'm doing, let's say I'm running like 4 or 5 hours at a park, go back to the car, switch them from the back to the front, put some more in the back, you know what I mean, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, it's funny, the name of the color is Castle Rock Gray. It's interesting. I didn't know that was the name of the color, but I've been using that. What else? What have I left off?
Would
I
that
always
be the
have some
vest
kind of.
you'd Sorry, would that be the vest you'd wear for an OCR race as well? It's rugged enough.
I have not worn it for an obstacle race, and I guess I would only do it if I was doing an ultra beast. I think anything else, I would just take whatever Spartan gave me.
Yeah, cool.
But I haven't run an ultra beast in a long time, so
They don't even call them Ultra Beasts anymore.
I know. I'm sorry. It'll never get old for me,
You're one of the OGs, man.
right? Um, so yeah, I guess I could try it and see what happens. It's small enough, I think. But again, I used to wear these big, heavy, like bladder things, and you take it off, and you like. Although now they make you go through, yeah, like you take it off and like go through the fucking mud and then put it back on, stupid shit like that.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Do you wear sunnies, of course?
No, I
No.
never wear sunnies in my life. Um, I I I just they make my face sweat. Yeah, I can't do it.
Man, I can't walk outside without sunglasses. I think it's the blue
Yeah.
eyes. It's like headache instant.
I used to have um 2 pairs of regular glasses. I would glasses and glasses with the thing, and I just got tired of it as I got older. So I just squint now. I just deal with it and squint. You know what I mean?
Just make do. You were at you were at Savage Race last week.
Right.
Um, so obviously some races are happening over there, but Spartan is suspended for 2020 over there.
Correct.
Is that correct? Canada
Correct.
as well, I believe, fell about a month ago.
Yeah, they kept trying and they just couldn't get it together. They just kept like governments change rules and they just couldn't, so they just canceled them all.
Is there anything in South America happening?
South America, I don't know. I'd have to look on
Not Scar or
Spartan's
anything?
page.
Okay.
I don't keep up much with South America. It's like me asking you about Tasmania, I guess.
Yeah, we pushed them away for a reason. Um, Obviously, a lot of races have had to shut their doors for extended periods, and over here we've seen a lot of people, a lot of race organisers go bust this year. Is I assume it's the same sort of story over in the States.
Well, we'd already contracted so much. Like the only major races left, major, like nationwide, were Spartan, Tough Mudder, which is now owned by Spartan,
Yeah.
Warrior Dash, which is gone completely,
Mm.
essentially absorbed by Spartan, but the brand doesn't exist. And Rugged Maniac, right?
Yeah.
Um, Rugged Maniac is like a more fun one. It's like a 5K fun one, or is it a 10K? I guess I should
Okay.
know these things.
More
Um,
entry level.
yeah, yeah, really fun though. Really fun, really good obstacles. Do a great job every year, and Savage. And then there's all these smaller ones, these mom and pops. Like we have a lot of local ones that we do every year. Some of them
Yeah.
pushed from the
Cool.
spring to the fall and then canceled altogether. Some of them may not come back, and we won't know till next year. Some of them said, "Hey, we'll see you in 2021." Some of them said, "This might be it." Um,
Yeah.
these. I don't know if how strong the scene is there. You still have like these little mom and pops that put on this one race a year that you really like going to.
Yeah, there's definitely a few of them. There's probably 4 or 5 race organisers that are putting events on that people will travel for, and then there's just heaps of little events that happen and little running races, and they might put a wall in the middle, call it an obscure race,
Right,
but close enough.
right.
I'll go as long as there's that wall in the middle.
Me
Um,
too.
how do you think? Obviously, the sport has had to and will have to adapt in the near future to bring safe events back. And we saw that with Jacksonville, where with Spartan Race Australia have got a COVID plan in place for the Queensland event that's happening at the end of November here.
Right.
How much do you think? Do you think any of these changes are going to be permanent? Or do you think there's just going to be this adjustment period?
Um, I think it's going to take longer than we want, but it will eventually be what it used to look like. I think there's no way with 9,000 people or 5,000 people you can do waves of 20 at a time. You know what I mean?
It's not
So,
viable cost-wise, I don't think.
so who knows when? Because every time we think we know, it moves. But I feel like maybe having the sanitizer stations will be permanent, like after every obstacle, a little thing.
Yeah.
But I think even, so if you go to Starbucks or most places now to order food, like there's like a little like plexiglass thing up,
Yeah.
right? And I think like even that's going to go away at some point. Like it'll just, they'll just stop building them, or if it breaks, they won't go back up. Like I don't think we're going to live in this new bubble world of masks all the time. I think it's
Yeah.
gonna, I think it's gonna, I think it's gonna get back to quote unquote normal, at some point. I mean, maybe it won't, but I feel like you can't do a race with 20 people waves unless you're a small mom and pop race with only 200 people.
I think definitely things like events, so like your marathons and your road races and stuff like that, they will go back to operating. But I think a lot of businesses will change the way they do things. I think a lot of businesses who have lots of office space will go, why the fuck do we need all this office space? Why don't we get people to work two
Right,
days a week in the office and hot desk at home for the rest? Like, I think I think it's forced a lot of change on a lot of places.
right,
I was lucky enough to already be an online trainer when COVID hit. Probably not so lucky to be training people for races that don't happen, but lucky enough to already be online and geared up to do that. But we've seen like huge changes in the fitness industry as people have had to adjust.
right. But people are feeling stuck at home, so I assume that they still want to get trained, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Or did you
definitely.
lose a bunch of people?
No, look, it's a moving the goalpost thing. So you know how you were talking about putting the race on, and you thought all these ultra runners would be like, yeah, I'm fucking down for that.
Right,
It's a running race. But that wasn't what happened. The people who you had already built the attention and the trust with, they were the people who were down for it. It's sort of the same with me. So I train people for obstacle racing. All of a sudden, the obstacle races are gone. So I think I lost some people because I wasn't doing body weight at home training. So there was like a
right,
little adjustment period where I sort of had to change what I was doing. And also, I think a lot of the people that I speak to and who I train were training specifically for events that got taken away. So all of a sudden, that motivation's gone. So you sort of
right,
there's this phase where you have to get them to change the goalposts and say, well, you still need to train. You can't just sit on the fucking lounge and get fat, like or get unfit,
right.
or you're gonna hate yourself in 6 months if you let yourself do that. So you still need to train, but there's that reframing phase where shit was a bit scary for a while, you know.
Right. Well, we have this massive, unhealthy culture over here. I assume everywhere other than here is better, even though more and more places get more and more Western,
Mm.
right?
Oh, we're
Over
right up
there,
the obesity list with you, man.
really?
Yeah, but even when I was in the States, I was like, oh man, they do some crazy shit here. Like they get Coke in a bucket.
In a bucket?
Yeah, yeah. Like the fast food is
Well,
incredible.
well, well, yeah. I mean, um, uh, if you go to the gas station, right? Most people pay like outside, right? You got the card. But if your card doesn't work or you have to go inside, just look at everything inside that gas station, right? Like everything is the most unhealthy crap you could possibly eat. And we eat a lot of that, we
Yeah,
Americans, right?
yeah.
Like we grab that shit left and right. You might not even be hungry, right? You might have just eaten lunch. But like, well,
It's
there's a
always
there's
there.
a food here. There's a 67 ounce of soda here. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah,
So I was just
yeah.
assumed that other cultures besides America are healthy, but you're saying it's almost as
Uh,
bad over here?
I it's we're not far behind you. I think like Amazon, we'll get it eventually. We're just a bit behind.
Right.
I think also we live close to beaches and stuff, and there's sort of a good fitness lifestyle. I think it's a little bit more, but
Right.
maybe it's the same over there near the beaches. I'm not sure.
No, I mean you've always had, you know, it used to be definitely like in the 70s, like if you were a runner, people would like look at you funny. Right now, people just look at you funny if you're a CrossFitter or an obstacle racer, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Have you had much to do with the other big cult, the CrossFitters?
Yeah, I'm not really a gym guy, so not really my thing. I like the running.
Yeah, cool. Have you always been a runner? Like
No,
before obstacle racing started, or?
no, when I trained for my first Tough Mudder and they said it was 10 miles, I was like, 10 miles? Like may as well have been
I don't even want to
100.
drive that far.
Right, exactly. I just started running in my neighborhood with my friends and or not my friends, my a guy in my neighborhood, and then a few of us who were doing the Tough Mudder together would go out and run in the woods. But yeah, I'm a very late bloomer that way.
Yeah, cool. Once the bug bites you, man, it's um it's powerful. It's powerful. What's Have Spartan said when they're back? Have they released any sort of
Well, they
2021 calendar up there?
they did, um, but I think they've got some Southern California dates in there for January, which is when they normally start.
Okay.
But I don't see that happening. I see them starting um, either in Florida or I think there's another, like maybe Arizona in February. But Florida, Jacksonville, the first race of the U.S. National Series last year or this year will probably be the first race of the
Okay.
U.S. National Series next year.
How did that event go down there in Jacksonville? I think it was what, about June or something, July maybe.
Oh, the COVID one you mean? Not the regular one, the
Mm.
COVID one.
The COVID one.
I mean, I did a little video on it. I mean, I thought it went fine. It was like, oh, like again, like it proves that you can do it, like do the separate waves, but that's 1,000 people over the course of 8 hours, and not 6,000 people plus spectators over the
Yeah,
course of 8 hours.
yeah. Which is, I imagine the feel of it would have been very different. And from Spartan, from a business perspective, that's not super viable to fly people in and build crews and all that type of stuff, I imagine.
And it's not fun, right? Like you want to
Yeah,
see everybody and you can't stay. Like everybody has to leave.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Cool. Um, Mate, it's pretty much all I was gonna chat about. We've been chatting for a while today. I've sort
yeah,
of
it's been a
gone
couple
through.
hours.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good
Yeah, I should
chat.
actually remember I said I got nothing.
You said you had nothing on
Hang on, this.
for a while,
I said I had nothing going on, but I just got a text, so I probably should get running.
but mate, it's been amazing chatting today. I definitely appreciate it. I wrote a couple of spots down where you were telling me the books, and also when you told me the gear loadout that I might chop into some smaller content. So I'll let you know once I've sorted that and once it's up at the YouTube and everything.
Yeah, I will share it. I'll share it away, dude. Let me know.
Sweet as, man. All right, guys. We didn't get through many of the questions that have been rolling in on the side. We just sort of conversation went off on a few different tangents. But thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys next time. And I'm just going to end the live now, but you'll still be on Skype there, Matt. So
Okay.
couple of thanks coming in. All right. See you guys.